Hey, Dr. Christianson here with you. I want to talk about hyperthyroidism and how nutraceuticals may be helpful. So for starters, let's define hyperthyroidism. And I'm exaggerating my pronunciation. I want you to hear hyper and not hypo. We should have different words. They sound so much alike, but they're like exact opposites of one another. So hyper, like hyperactive, is high. There are too much thyroid hormones present for what the body's needs are. Now, this occurs in stages. The very first stage of that involves the TSH going below range. So the TSH is a backward marker showing how much the body wants the thyroid to work. And if there's too much hormone, your body can't tell if you made it or if it came from a pill. It all looks the same. So the first sign is the TSH dips below range. And even a little bit, that's the first stage of that. As hyperthyroidism progresses, the TSH goes as low as it can. And during those first two stages, it's pretty common to see T3 and T4 normal or sometimes even low. That's not uncommon. At the third stage of hyperthyroidism, the T4 goes up. TSH is still down, but now the T4 has gone up. And in the fourth stage, T3 goes up also. So fourth stage, T3 is above range, T4 is above range, and TSH is all the way down. But in the first stage, the only change is that the TSH has dipped, but it's still hyperthyroidism. Funny thing too, which is not intuitive, is that at those earlier stages, you may not feel like you would think. You may not feel overstimulated. You probably won't be seeing weight loss. You actually can have all the symptoms you would expect from hypothyroidism. You can feel tired and weight can still be a struggle. So there's two main categories of hyperthyroidism. There's that which comes from within and that which comes from without. So quite simply, from within means you're making too much. From without means you're taking too much. There's just too much in the medication. There are some times in which doctors find good reason to have someone on a high dose of thyroid medication. More often than not, it may not be helpful, but there are some times when it is appropriate. Some only function well when they're on a little too much. Some need it because of other disease risks. So that's exogenous, from without hyperthyroidism. When your body does it, that's from within. The most common two reasons for that are Graves' disease and toxic nodular goiter. But all these scenarios are ones that can be benefited by nutraceuticals. So if you're on a dose that's a little too high, or if you've got Graves', or if you've got toxic nodular goiter, nutraceuticals have been shown to be useful for that, and I'll talk more about that. Now, the problems of hyperthyroidism are that thyroid hormones are powerful, and too much of them can block important reparative processes and speed breakdown processes. The net result of which can be more cardiovascular disease, more bone thinning, more damage to the brain, Graves' eye disease, and then just higher risks for mortality, greater risk of overall death. So managing hyperthyroidism, it generally does take slowing the thyroid as one step. Now, once the thyroid has been slowed, got back to normal range, that by itself often does not solve the problem. In many cases, it would come back again if the slowing was taken away. So this is where nutraceuticals can make a big difference. They can help it go away more spontaneously. And I want to talk about just a couple of highlighted ingredients here that are especially useful. All the ones that I've chosen are ones that have had human clinical trials and been shown to be safe and effective for these specific conditions. First up is quercetin. This is a naturally occurring bioflavonoid, and it's been shown to help lower the activation of T4 into T3 almost as much as medications have. It's also been shown to improve the internal antioxidants superoxide dismutase and catalase. And that's important because it turns out that excess thyroid hormone depletes the body of its own antioxidants. And once the body's been depleted, that's when a lot of the harms emerge. So quercetin can help stop that depletion. Another highlighted ingredient, Melissa, also known as lemon balm. This has been shown to help many of the symptoms of hyperthyroidism. Those include anxiety, panic, and the increased heart rate that comes with that. Melissa can also inhibit the binding of thyroid-stimulating immunoglobulin. So this is the main antibody of Graves' disease, and it binds onto the thyroid and makes the thyroid think that it's being told to work when it's not. So Melissa can stop that whole process. It's also been shown to lower the side effects of radioactive iodine. So some with hyperthyroidism have radioactive iodine as a treatment, and Melissa can make that less apt to cause complications. Next up would be carnitine. This is a conditionally essential amino acid, meaning that we do get some from our diet, we make it, but sometimes we cannot make it well. What carnitine does is it helps fats get into the cells and into the mitochondria. Basically, it shovels the coal in the furnace, quite simply. So the better you burn fat, the better your body can burn fat, the better you can make energy. Now, this is important because in cases of hyperthyroidism, the body can't do that as well. And that's one of the paradoxes. In the extreme stages of hyperthyroidism, there can be weight loss, but there's rarely fat loss. And even at mild stages of hyperthyroidism, it's almost impossible to burn fat adequately. Many don't understand that. Many think that if they're a little bit hyper, they'll lose more weight. They might, but they will not lose fat, and they will not get more lean. And this is one connection. Now, we've also seen studies showing that carnitine also manages the symptoms of hyperthyroidism, specifically the palpitations, the nervousness, and the tremors. There was a clinical trial done in which within 2 months, people saw a 3-fold decrease in symptoms like that with no significant side effects. A couple more key ingredients. Rutin is present. This is a really neat bioflavonoid. It helps the body dump thyroid hormones more quickly. So one of the ways we adapt to hyperthyroidism is we get rid of these hormones. We do that normally, but when there's too much of those, we do that more quickly. But we can't always do it fast enough. So rutin helps us speed that up and gives us more of a chance of staying ahead of the curve. It's also been shown to prevent the liver damage that comes from hyperthyroidism. So yeah, as the body is not burning fuel properly, there can be a buildup of trapped fats within the liver, and rutin can make that less likely. One last ingredient that I'm going to mention is CoQ10. This is something that we do make. We can't make it as well when we're hyperthyroid. And we think that's one of the reasons why hyperthyroidism causes cardiac complications, because it makes the body unable to make CoQ10. So this combination can help the thyroid slow itself, can help the body eliminate thyroid hormones, can speed the time frame for recovery, and can lower some of the side effects, including those of Graves' eye disease. So how to use this? Well, 2 capsules once daily with food. Quite simple. Dr. Alan Christianson here with you, and this is a nutraceutical solution for issues of hyperthyroidism called Hyperthyroid Support. All right, take great care, and I'll see you really soon.